Hi guys, welcome back to my channel once again. This is Batok with Ola and my name is Mujila Olu, and today we want to talk about section 84 of the Evidence Act. That's talking about electronic evidence, admissibility of electronic evidence under the Nigerian Evidence Act. It's very important because I know that we've talked about public and private documents and their admissibility, and we've also talked about certified true copies, which is the admissible form for public documents when you cannot find or tender the original. But today we want to talk about electronic documents. That's referring to documents that are produced by electronic devices such as photocopiers, printers, computers, phones, and what have you. And they could be, receipts, emails, tellers, invoices, chats, social media chats, posts, and what have you. So this section is very important as well as very controversial, but I hope that you'll be able to get to the basics today in this video. So let's talk about electronic evidence and their admissibility in Nigeria. So section 84 of the Evidence Act provides the basis for which electronic evidence is to be admissible in Nigeria. And there are four main key points, and these things have to be proven when tendering electronic evidence. So the 4 points are that: one, the party tendering it must prove or show the court that I'm reading from section 84 now, subsection 2, A to D. A says that the document containing the statement was produced by the computer during a period over which the computer was used regularly to store or process information for the purposes of any activities regularly carried out over that period, whether for profit or not, by anybody, whether corporate or not, or by any individual. So the person or the party tendering it must show the court that the computer with which the document was produced, was used for that kind of activity. That is, if you have produced a printout, you must prove first that this computer is usually used regularly to produce printouts. That's number one. Then number two, you have to prove that over that period there was regularly supplied to the computer in the ordinary course of those activities information of the kind contained in the statement, or of the kind from which the information so contained is derived. So if, for instance, the printout is a bank statement, you have to secondly show the court that the computer is usually supplied information as such that is contained in the bank statement. That is, the computer is usually supplied bank statement data, in the regular course of business or the usage of the computer, and that is why it has now produced or printed out this bank statement. That's two. Three, you have to show the court that throughout the material part of that period the computer was operating properly. That's the crux of that subsection C. You have to show the court that the computer with which the printout in this instance now was produced was working in a proper condition. That is, it had no fault, there's been no doctoring, there's been no tampering with it or with the output. So it was working in a perfect condition when this printout was made. And lastly, you have to prove to the court that the information contained in the statement reproduces or is derived from information supplied to the computer in the ordinary course of those activities. You have to prove to the court, lastly, that the information supplied to the computer, which resulted in production of the printout, is one that was supplied in the ordinary course of activities. That is, it wasn't as if it's a special scenario or that it's an out of the blues or a one-time thing. Ordinarily, this kind of information is supplied to the computer when the computer is working as it should or as it would, on any ordinary day. So you have to show the court those four things, and then and the way by which you do this is by producing a certificate of compliance. A certificate of compliance is a deposition made by either someone who was the supervisor of the activities that produced, those pieces of evidence, or someone that actually produced those things himself or herself, deposing to such certificate, assuring the court that these four requirements were complied with and that they can attest to the authenticity of the documents sought to be tendered. So in this for example, let's say you want to tender photographs. The people who can depose would be either the photographer that took the picture, or if, for instance, if it's a criminal case now, the investigating police officer that was managing the case, that was investigating the case, that invited the photographer, So either of those two people can depose to a certificate of compliance, telling the court that, yes, these pictures were taken in the course of the investigation. Yes, the pictures were taken by this so camera. The camera was working in good condition. The camera is usually used for taking this kind of pictures. And the picture, taken, the output is the photograph that is now before the court and that we seek to tender. So that's essentially how to tender electronic evidence. You lay a foundation by proving these things to the court. So usually if you are defense or prosecution or claimant, what you do is you file, you front load this electronic evidence that you want to tender, you front load them alongside the certificate of compliance. Note that this certificate is very important. It can make or mar your case. In Kubor and Dickson, which is the locus classicus for electronic evidence in Nigeria, what happened in that case was, it's a political case, an electoral matter rather. So what happened was that a party tendered electronic evidence but did not lay foundation. They didn't tender the certificate of compliance, so the evidence was rejected. The documents it was a printout of a newspaper publication, online newspaper publication. That was one. There were two pieces of evidence, but one of them was a newspaper publication. So the evidence was rejected, and even on appeal, it was still rejected. How do you tender or lead evidence to tender electronic documents if you're a counsel? I'll give an example of a case that I was a part of. This is how the lead counsel led evidence to tender the certificate first and then the CDs that we tendered. So it was a build-up to questions that had been asked the witness. We had asked all the questions that we wanted to ask, and then it was time to just tender the CDs through the witness so that the witness could step down. So the lead counsel asked, as a member of the team that investigated, you were around when the statements of the defendants were being taken and recorded? And he answered yes. And then she asked, who made the recording? And then he said that, it was so persons and so person, so witness that has come before me was the lead or the team lead of that investigating team, and I was a part of that team, and I was there when the recording was being made. And then he was asked, since you were present when the recording was being made, could you please tell the court the gadget used? So he said that, it was recorded with a Samsung S9. I'm just using an example. After which it was transferred to a Lenovo laptop, and after which it was burnt onto compact discs. So that's how to trace the production of those documents. After which it was asked, in compliance with Section 84 of the Evidence Act, you deposed to a certificate of compliance for the presentation of computer-generated evidence. If you see the deposition, would you be able to identify it? And he said yes, and then it was shown, and I identified it. After which the deposition was tendered, shown to the other parties, no objection, then it was tendered, and then the CDs were now tendered. So that's how to do it. You tendered the certificate first, leading the witness to answer questions, laying foundation for the electronic evidence, after which the evidence will then be tendered, and then they'll be admissible in evidence. They'll be labeled by the court Exhibit A or B or C and admitted in evidence. So that's the simple way to go about it. That's all I have for you in this video. I will see you in my very next video. Toodles.